Much like Camden, New Jersey, more and more people are starting to rely on private security in Oakland, California, because it turns out that the police department there is overwhelmed and underfunded. This is an ongoing problem throughout the country, and it's really, really sad when people have to pay out of pocket to make sure they have their own private security. Now, just to give you a sense of how bad crime is in Oakland right now, since 2011, robberies have gone up 54%, burglaries have gone up 40%, and auto thefts have gone up 33%. So entire neighborhoods in Oakland have no choice but to hire private security, and a lot of times they're used as a deterrent because it's really, really difficult for private security to do the same job that law enforcement would do. In fact, one person who owns a private security company, his name is Nate Cook, says the following: "I'm talking to people all the time in Oakland to see what we can do. They call me all the time." He basically says that they started off with having about 100 to 200 households that private security would patrol. Now that has gone up to 500 homes. Okay, so it's just big business for him. He says that it's been very, very successful, but it's very problematic, and I'll get to that in a second. Cenk.
So, okay, so one part of this is Oaktown, right?
Yeah.
Look, Oakland is our Pakistan, and I love the good folks in Oakland, but let's keep it real, okay? When I read stories about Pakistan, I think there's some chance this is the country that's going to destabilize the world, okay? When I was in Oakland, I got the sense this might be the city that destabilizes the country.
Okay, can we just for a second? You went to Oakland during Occupy protests, and Occupy protests in Oakland were particularly militant. Okay, so yes, there was definitely that sense of.
No, I understand. No, I know, I get it. Okay, but trust me. Okay, Oaktown's for real. It's very, very serious, and I got a sense of like.
I was just in Oakland. Okay, it's definitely no Philly. It's fine.
All right. Look, yeah, North Philly, West Philly to some degree, Baltimore, they're very serious cities. I get it, right? There's like, because you know why? In Oakland, there's a sense of like, we don't give a damn what the law is, right? By some folks, obviously. And then there are other people like this who are trying to protect their communities. And look, all of that is obvious. Anything is a generalization. But there's a much larger issue here that doesn't have anything to do with Oakland. We have broken down the government so bad, we've nearly created anarchy by defunding and defunding and defunding the government. It is a core job of the government to give us cops. It's their number one job, is security. It's their most important job. And here in Oakland, cops don't show up. In this story, they explain one case, for example, where they call the cops, they thought somebody's in the house, the alarm's going off, the dogs are barking. Cops don't show up for 20 minutes. 20 minutes! In the middle of a major city with 400,000 people in it, okay? So if you can't trust the government to show, what you do is you start creating a new government, a privatized government. So what they're doing is they're hiring these private security guys. Like in one neighborhood, they're chipping in $20 a person. It's a smaller neighborhood. In another community, they chip in like 50 cents or something.
50 cents a day?
50 cents a day, okay? And they're trying to gather their own private security. And what's interesting is we've done stories about rich folks living in their castles with the private security. We know that. This is middle class people. Now, there is something called security for middle class people. It's called the cops.
Yeah.
Okay? But look at how little cops there are. There are now 615 officers patrolling the city of roughly 400,000 people, down from a peak of 830 officers back in January of 2009.
That is insane. 615 officers for 400,000 people.
Of course they can't keep up.
They can't keep up.
And
they're overwhelmed.
And another thing that happens is that when cops get overwhelmed, they overreact. And then you start a vicious cycle where the community doesn't trust the cops anymore. And there's a lot of people in Oakland who don't trust the cops at all, right? And partly because the cops are they're like, I can't keep up. And to them, everybody starts looking like bad guys, right?
So let's talk about the cons a little bit, because there are many cons to this. Some people might argue, I mean, when you really think about it, this is like a libertarian's dream. Like, get rid of all of these social services, these public services, and put in private companies to do the job. But if you get rid of regulations and you have private companies take over these very, very critical roles in society, then all of a sudden they might not do such a great job, okay? So I read into this a little more to see what kind of training happens with private security. Is it similar to law enforcement? And of course it's not. Okay, so first of all, private security training may be subpar. And I'm not saying that all private security is subpar, but there isn't a regulation in place where there are certain set standards for these private securities. It's a private company. They get to set the standards for themselves. As a result, they don't have the same training that you see with law enforcement.
Now, how often do we do stories where cops aren't trained right? Now you take that to another level where you got these private security guards who God knows how they were trained. Let's say you got a situation that they got to respond to. They do have weapons. Let's say the other guys have weapons. You're inviting disaster.